right, this is a raid. Everybody's under arrest. Hello, darling. Connie Casserole. I'm Mary Don't Ask.
Hi, Emery. Come on, you can put it in the kitchen.
Who is this exotic woman over here, my dear? I thought you had Paris. Where have you been hiding your classically chiseled features?
I don't live in the city anymore.
Here, I'll take those. Emery, where's your present?
It's arriving later.
Thank you so much, Robin, for taking the time to talk about, the new version of Boys in the Band. You're looking at the star, but I'm in Puerto Rico, so the star is cuando la electricidad se va. That's what lights up the living room. So it's not an ego thing. It's not an ego thing at all. But let's get to your film. Given that you're sort of it's a lauded performance that you did on stage, and you're doing it with the same director and with the same cast. Were you just set, or did you take the film as to sort of approach it differently throughout the process? If you could talk to me about that.
Yeah, no, totally. I think what was really interesting about approaching the movie from the stage show was almost humbling yourself. Because when you do a Broadway run and you do 8 shows a week, you learn that character inside and out. And there's a world where you think, oh, I've done the work. I know who this person is. And so I'm just gonna go in and do what I did. But with a camera, you wanna be conscious of staying open to whatever new things come up. Because in a Broadway show, that camera, it's almost like the audience is watching like a wide angle.
Mm-hmm.
You see everyone. And when you see a movie, you see everyone up close. And sometimes you only see one person, and one person's look at another person. So there's a lot less in my performance for me to control, right? You don't get to see all my relationship with everyone. And so what that meant for me was just be present, be open to whatever newness is gonna come out, but also know that you know this character so well, so just trust and be relaxed. And so that was really it. It was just like, it, be confident, but also know that you don't know things.
So anything new? You said the newness. Anything new regarding Emery that you sort of discovered in the shooting of the film?
Hi, Emery. This occurred to me yesterday, and I hadn't thought about it or even put words to it. But in the show, Emery, I receive a lot of hateful words and a lot of internalized homophobia, and there's a fight scene. And I think when you're doing it 8 times a week, your body is like, you got to survive. So we're not going to talk about the trauma that this might be triggering. We're not going to talk about what you went through as a young gay kid. And as a Boricua man who has masculinity issues and that are triggered very easily, right? And so I never really took into account that those words were affecting me. And then when we got to the movie one day, we got to that scene in the middle where there's the fight, and I don't want to give away too much. Mm-hmm. And there was something about doing it back to back to back to back that all of a sudden, yo sentí como una vibración en mi estómago, right? And all of a sudden it just came up, and I lost control and I burst into tears. And I genuinely was not in control of that, but I didn't realize that I had been carrying that. And I think that was my body's way of protecting me. Like, you know what? We let you hold this in for a while, but you got to release it and not keep that in your body and your muscles. This is unnecessary trauma to move forward with, And that really, really shocked me, because in that moment, I was not in control of my body.
Obviously, thank you for sharing that, first of all. But obviously, it's this show and the story is set in 1968. I just did another Netflix family friendly where the gay character is like a non-issue, and I think a lot of people are going to be shocked by what you mentioned in terms of the language that is exchanged between them. But I think it's because that is something that is not appreciated enough with the play as well. As they are their family, and that sort of venom sort of seeps out in a family dysfunctional situation. Did you guys talk about that with your director?
Yeah.
To sort of justify the dynamic between the characters.
Yeah, and that's a very complicated and nuanced conversation, in that when you're watching a historical piece, you want it to be accurate because that's what has the effect. And I believe our movie, it is a reminder of where we came from. It is a reminder of the struggles that we've had, which we still face. They've just morphed and they've gotten savvy and they appear differently. But but that experience and the intensity of it and the violence of it all in 1968 was very real. And as ugly as those words are, you need to hear them to acknowledge where your people come from, where your ancestors come from, and to acknowledge the fact that you don't ever want to go back there.
Mm-hmm.
Especially now, sociopolitically, where there's a world where our government is coming for our rights. And you know, there was a lot at stake right now. And so this piece is actually, it's actually more appropriate and more timely to come out now than it was when we did it on Broadway 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So I will not, I mean, my time is almost up, so I'm not going to do this interview and not mention that I'm one of the people who bought a ticket to go see Camp in a movie theater. And I have a DVD of the movie because the movie meant so much to me. So since I have you in front of me, what do you remember about sort of that first experience and making that movie?
It saved my life. It saved my life. I thought, I was told by my teacher, literally verbatim, and this is on brand with everything we're talking about. I was told by my teacher that I would never make it in musical theater because I was short and Puerto Rican, and that I should go to opera where the world didn't care what I looked like. And honestly, that was her trauma. And she projected it onto me, but I absorbed it. That was her issue. And so I thought Broadway's not ready for me. And then that movie was a random open call from another teacher that I was told of to go to. And I went and I just happened to book it. And it was like the universe stepped in and said, you're about to make a left turn and I want you to make a right. And it saved my life because I probably wouldn't have figured out that was where I was supposed to be that was where I'm supposed to go with my life.
Well, I'm so glad that you made the right, and your teacher should have seen Chorus Line with Morales in it. I mean, for God's sake. I mean, like, what's she talking about? Anyway, so last question. Was it sort of, we see little bits of what happens after, I don't want to spoil it, after the dinner that I imagine, because I haven't seen the play, I've only seen the 2 film adaptations. Yeah. Had you imagined what would happen to Emery once he sort of stepped out of Michael's door and sort of goes out into his own? And was it satisfying to give us a little bit of that?
Yeah, it is satisfying. I was really happy to see his dynamic with Bernard because that is complicated. And I think colorism, the exploration of that within Latino folks and Black folks is a conversation that I should say, between non-Black Latino folks and Black folks. That is a conversation that we need to touch on more. So I was really excited just to go to see the nuances of someone who's transgressive, who really receives it and apologizes, but now has to implement his change as a person. And so part of that was that he went and took care of his friend. And that loving dynamic, that's something we all know. That's family behavior, right? That's real love. And Emery always comes from a place of love. I don't know what his relationship is going to be with the rest of that group, Michael as well. It's probably going to be fine. But I think for him, the people that he's going to hang out with the next day are going to be Harold and Bernard. The rest, I don't know.
All right, sir. My time's up. Muchísimas gracias. Un abrazo grande de acá de Puerto Rico. Gracias por tu tiempo. Y que estés saludable. Cuídense mucho. Thank you.